Hello, people of grace, for our Pastoral Connect today as we have begun our season of Advent celebration and looking forward to celebrating the birth of Jesus. I want to challenge us with this thought: being a soul shelter. Being the kind of person that not only can coach your own soul, as David did in his best moments, where he can say, "Oh, my soul, why are you so downcast within me?" but being a shelter for other souls. Because ultimately, we are all followers of Christ, and He is the true and original shelter of souls. I think there's three brief things I want to mention today, partly in preparation for our worship this Sunday, that challenges us to be on a path of increasingly becoming a soul shelter. Number one, we have to accept what is. That's hard. That's a challenge. I think for many of us emotionally, acceptance translates into agreement. That we have to agree with a lot of what goes on in this world. And they're really not the same concept, but we kind of emotionally struggle with that. And being in this place of profound and simple acceptance is challenging. But I would submit that it is a first step in any really grieving process or even just being spiritually and emotionally healthy. So let's challenge ourselves to accept what is. Number two, despite how absurd this world is and how darkness seems to be more prevalent than light, and chaos and death and destruction and injustice and trauma seem to impact us so much more profoundly than simplicity and beauty and joy. And in fact, when we are in a cursed world that is doomed to die. So that makes everything seem absurd. So it may seem absurd, but be loving anyway. Be faithful, be hopeful, be loving, in the teeth of the apparent absurdities of this current order. Love anyway. Accept what is. Don't feel some need to try to make it all make sense, or force yourself to believe something that really isn't a promise from God just so you can impose some false order on a crazy world. Accept what is and love anyways. And as we are faithful, hopeful, and most of all, loving anyway, we are starting to become a soul shelter, because 1 Corinthians 13 tells us that one of the first things that love always does is protects. Well, what does that mean? The idea of protects there means bears with, hangs in there with people, shelters, covers. Make it your intention to be a shelter for other people. And don't do that in some way where you are not recognizing your own challenges or griefs. Process things well, so you are increasingly being a shelter and a source of strength for others. Because we are all, whether we like it or not, moving toward Jesus or away from him. And I have a very simple way of saying that. All of us, as we process through this absurd world, are becoming protectors, or we are shutting down and becoming passive, or worst of all, we're becoming predators. Don't let yourself turn into a predator, a self-absorbed, narcissistic consumer. Don't settle into passivity and shrinking your world. Fight to be a protector. Love always protects. Become a soul shelter. Jesus is the way. He is the ultimate soul shelter. It is a privilege to be on a journey to becoming more like him. And that's something we're celebrating this Advent season. Have a blessed evening.